So I'll share my screen now, hopefully. Right, can you see the PowerPoint presentation now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so during this off season now, although it's a very unusual year this year because we've not really had a season to speak of, but what we would normally look at doing is sort of going back over the season and analysing, you know, what went right, how did things go, particularly as far as racing went, you know, what distances suited you, what racing did you really enjoy, and what experiences do you want to take forward to next year? Are there any sort of learning points, you know, from things that went wrong during, you know, some of the races? But we've not got much of that to go on this year. The other thing that it's good to analyse is how did your training go? You know, was it consistent? Were you managing to hit the targets that were set each week? Did it suit you? Did it suit your family? And is there any issues that you have with the training that's being set for you? Because ultimately, it's your training. You know, I try to lead and give you guidance on what to do and give you the structure. But ultimately, it's for you guys to get what you want out of triathlon, really. So what I would normally want to do is look back over the last few months and you know, look at how many of those sessions have gone green, how many are still the amber colour, and maybe how many are still red. And then obviously individually have a chat to you and say, you know, if there's blocks where we're not hitting what we should, is it because there's been social issues? You know, is there some stuff going on with family? Is it work pressures? Is it working hours? Is it that you're just not so motivated at the moment? And if we can analyze that, hopefully, you know, I can give you a plan that is achievable and does motivate you and hopefully can help you move on with whatever it is you want to over the winter particularly. And then obviously normally at the end of a season, round about October time, people would often want a break. You know, they've often put a lot of effort in from the beginning of the year with races starting in perhaps springtime, going through summer and finishing as we have done around about September. So what I need to work out is, you know, are any of you in that position at the moment where you do want to break from training? Or, you know, if you do want to break, what does a break actually mean to you guys? You know, for some people, they'll still want to ride the bike, but maybe just turn the power meter off, turn the computer off. Other people, again, they might fancy some trail running and again, just turn the metrics off. So they're not actually running to any particular scheme. They're just trying to enjoy exercise. For other people, it might just be a total break for 2 weeks. You know, they might want a fortnight of doing absolutely nothing, maybe drinking and eating well and getting up late, etc., and just not doing any training at all, mentally refresh themselves and then get stuck back into it again. Now, obviously, again, what is right for each of you will probably be individual to you, because as much as it's about physical sort of rest and recuperation, it's also about the mental side of it as well, and we need to be fresh mentally to try and hit some good training over the rest of the winter as it comes. And then I also need to talk to each of you about your goals for next year. You know, for many it'll be maybe a 70.3 race or a couple of them. For many it'll be an Ironman race to target. But whatever it is, we need to start penciling in some of those dates. Not right immediately, you know, but over the next month or so, we need to start to pencil in those dates and then just work back from there and say, okay, where do we need to be 3 months before that? And where do we need to be a couple of months before that? And we can start to look towards next year and not just waste. And the big reason for doing this today really is I don't want to waste the winter time. You know, for many people, they get a bit lost. There's no ultimate goals over the winter. There's very little racing to be done. And you can just sort of just go meandering through the winter. But actually, it can be a time to really improve, which I'll come on to in a second. And then ultimately, you know, what do you want from me? If you're not getting quite what you hoped out of the coaching, then make sure you let me know. And if it's something that I can change, then we will do. If it's something that I'm not sure I can provide, then, you know, we'll deal with that as it comes up. But have a think about how the coaching is suiting you, and just make sure, you know, you're communicating with me. That's all I ask, really. So if we move on to the next slide. So the things that we could think about now, again, these are not necessarily for all of you, but there might be one of each that you like the look of, or actually you think resonate with you. So initially, you know, it's okay to have a little bit of downtime. It's okay to lose some of the metrics and lose the priorities for a little while. And you know, a lot of us keep training, and we, you know, if we anxious about maybe losing our FTP. You know, we see that threshold value on Swift or whatever we're training, and we keep thinking, well, I need to keep training because I can't let that go. I've worked hard all year for that to come up. But what we're talking about having a bit of rest and downtime and maybe then changing our priorities over winter, you will lose some top end fitness, you know, undoubtedly. But if we're building a better base in some way, and if we're working on something else, the ultimate result of that next year could be a lot better. And top end fitness is there to be lost. You know, a professional athlete is not going to stay in tip-top form throughout the whole of the season, and not even throughout the whole of the summer. You know, they will ebb and flow a little, and their top end fitness will go and come back. You won't lose that much. You know, if you do switch off totally, you'll lose up to about 10% of your fitness, you know, and that would be a total resting sort of bed rest for a couple of months, really. So don't worry about that side of it. If we do change priorities to something else, it's okay to lose your top end fitness and not be too concerned. It will come back quite quickly once the real hard work starts. And then for those of you that's got new injuries or ongoing niggling problems, and we've been trying to keep, training towards a race goal or improving in one way or another, it is very difficult to get injuries better, particularly these overuse injuries. You know, if it's a tendonitis, it's a plantar fascia, it's a calf strain, etc., etc. It's difficult to get those better when we're still trying to train quite hard aerobically. And obviously for most of them, particularly if we're still running, that seems to be the one that's hardest to really fit in. Now, you've not necessarily got those same pressures. We've not got races now, and we don't have to be raising our FTP and raising our run threshold. So it's absolutely fine to reduce some of that load and prioritize getting the injury better. Obviously, if you can access some treatment and you know, get a diagnosis first off, then start the ball rolling pretty much straight away. You know, this is the first week now for most people where we've sort of now considered it's the end of the race season. I know Rob's got a duathlon hopefully on the weekend, but apart from that, we're pretty much at the end of the season now. So injuries, have a think about it, prioritize it over your aerobic training. You know, don't be still trying to squeeze in the extra run if it's niggling that Achilles or whatever that you're suffering with. Then you'll have seen the videos from TTT and that I've had a help with, which is to do with strength and conditioning. We tend to prioritize strength and conditioning work in the winter because it tends to make you quite sore afterwards, as you'll all have done a session of squats at the gym or deadlifts at the gym, and you can't really walk properly for the rest of the week, and your other training goes a bit to shit that week. So it's very difficult to convince an athlete that they should be doing their S&C, particularly heavy lifting, through the main part of the season. But now, if we put strength and conditioning as one of your main focuses, then if you are sore after it, it doesn't really matter, because that's the key session. That's the one that we want to hit well. And if you can't run so well the day after, well, for now, we would accept that and say, well, it's okay. We're still hitting the main part of the week. We're still doing that well. So again, I'll look to build up some strength and conditioning pretty much for everybody. Even those with injuries, we'll look to work around them, and we'll prioritize strength and conditioning a little more over the winter. If you've got a particular reason you don't want to do it, or you'd like to convince me otherwise, then again, we'll talk about that on a one-to-one basis, and we'll make something fit for you guys individually. And then the other thing about winter time is it's quite a good time to focus on either one single sport or one single part of your performance that is perhaps your limiting factor, or the bit that's letting you down. So if you wanted to focus on swim, bike or run individually, what we'll do is we'll put those in the week as key sessions and space them out where they need to be, so that we're not diluting the effect of that. And then we might simply fit in a couple of the other sessions around it, a couple of the other sports. So if you've got a dual goal, if you're somebody that wants to hit your running now hard over winter because it's a weakness, or because you want to hit a spring marathon or something like that, then we can tweak the program now that the season's over, and we can start to build in maybe like 4 key run sessions a week. And then you might have 1 bike and 2 swims, or 2 swims, and we'll just fit it in around what your goals are over the winter. If it's swimming, then we can obviously increase the volume and the frequency that you get to the pool. But one of the key things would perhaps be to try to get some technique analysis done, either, with TTT if you're anywhere near like the Chester area, or possibly getting a video analysis done nearer to yourselves, or even if you can get video done and send it up to me, that's fine. I could even have a look at it sort of remotely. But obviously technique for swimming is massively important, because most of you are very fit anyway. And if swimming is your weak area, it's probably not fitness. It's much more likely to be technique. So if we just spend all winter just thrashing thousands of meters out, we'll probably still get some benefit, but maybe not as much as you'd like. With the bike, what we need to do over the winter, really, if you wanted more of a bike focus, because we've done a lot of cycling this year anyway, but if it was a bike focus, we'd look at maybe doing some high cadence work for the slow twitch fibers and for the neuromuscular side of things. So we're switching the muscles on really well and improving technique. We do the low cadence work for the strength and the muscular endurance. And then what we'd look to do is really increase your endurance base. But it wouldn't be just zone 1 and zone 2 easy riding. It would be proper tempo work, real under sweet spot. So not hitting the threshold values we've been hitting in the summer, not quite to that level, but really pushing out the endurance with some solid zone 3 sort of work. So that would be my advice for more of a bike focus block. And then if it's run focused, then again, we need quite a few sessions. We need to be doing those run drills, a few hill reps, a few strides and speed work, to really just focus on improving the mechanics of running, as well as just running more volume. So that's the single sport side of it. Now, the other thing that I think is really important this year more than any is if you don't feel you've had your fill of competition, so you've not done any racing or you've done very little, and racing is something that motivates you, then by all means look to put some 10K runs in, maybe some Zwift races. Whatever it is, if there's any swim galas, I don't know if they're doing them, but if there's any swim stuff, whatever it is that fuels your motivation, we can certainly look to build in some racing across the winter. And that'll obviously work very well if it's the area that we're working on. If it was a run and you do a 10K in the next couple of weeks, and then we schedule at least another 10K in maybe January, we've got a great block up to then sort of reassess at the end of it with a nice race at the end. And then we can fill in a couple more races in between. As far as community is concerned, obviously at TTT, we're doing a lot to keep the Zwift community going. If you find that the online side of things and making friendships and having people to chat to helps you stay regular with your training, then most of that's going to be done with the bike sessions on Zwift. We can't really produce run sessions the same on Zwift. We've tried, but they don't really work very well. So again, if community is important, I can easily schedule in 1 or 2 sort of social bike rides on Zwift with the TTT guys, because we're continuing to roll them out through the winter. They might not be your key session, but if you think that's something that's going to help you, then just bear that in mind. And when we have a chat in the next few days, then let me know, and I can make sure that I'm putting those in and not asking you to do, say, a 3-hour ride on your own. Which if you're not likely to do it over winter, then there's no point in being there in your calendar. And then, if there's other areas, and I've just listed, to do with diet, to do with nutrition, if you're a bit overweight and you want to focus on losing weight, over the winter's a good time, apart from Christmas getting in the way. But the winter time, you can manipulate your diet. And if you're a bit more tired or you've not quite got the energy because you don't quite get things right with the diet, well, there's no racing to be lost from that. So it's the time to experiment a little bit. And again, I'm not a dietitian or a nutritionist. I can give you some advice and I can point you in the right directions, or even make an appointment with Danny Webber if you want to take things a bit further and actually go into that in a lot more detail. So there's a lot there to think about. And that's what I want you to think about in the next couple of days. What out of that list really rings for you over the next few months, and that's where we can then focus our attention together. So after the session today, I'll try and get round to calling pretty much everybody through this week. We'll schedule some calls. The other stuff that I really need to know, because I don't want to be putting stuff in the plan is what access you've got to a gym and to swimming pool, really, because open water's gone now because it's getting that cold. So I don't want to be putting swims in if you can't access the pool. If you're stuck to like a 45-minute session, then again, I need to know that, so I'm not giving you things that you can't do. And again, once we move on to the strength and conditioning, you're going to need some equipment at home, or you're going to need access to a gym. So I just need to know what you've got, and then I can build that in appropriately. Again, get your injuries assessed, get some treatment started. Obviously, you know, I am a physio by background. I'm not keen on doing things over Zoom calls and WhatsApp video because I feel I can't do a proper job. But if anybody wants to talk to me about injuries and even come up and visit for an assessment or whatever, I can do that. That's okay as well. Again, the race calendar, we have a think about penciling in races and dates for next year. It's not urgent at all. And I'm certainly not going to give Ironman any more money at the moment because I think they've got enough of my cash.
Rob, Ronnie's outside.
Come on, Rob.
Cheers.
Training Peaks Premium. There's a couple of you still on Training Peaks basic accounts. And there's a couple of issues with that. But one of the main issues is that as I'm getting busier and busier with athletes, the ones that are on the premium accounts get prioritized basically. So I get notifications and emails and other messages, and there's just a concern that if you're still on the basic, it might get lost. So I'm going to look to make sure that everybody moves up to a premium account, which is just £10 a month extra, which you can either pay yourselves or you can pay me and I'll sort it for you. And then what I want to definitely get out of you guys is, when we come out of winter, you know, when we get to say February time and we're thinking about racing again, what would a successful winter look like to you? So we need to choose some way of measuring it. We need a bit of a goal for the end of the winter period, whether we say that's say late January or even up to late February. And then we need to see if we can come out of it with a benefit in that area and something that's measurable, and you can say, yeah, I've spent all these hours training in winter and look what I've got. I've got this improvement. Okay, so have a think about what it is you really want to get out of these next few months. And then finally, really just to say, obviously we've got as far as Total Tri training is concerned and the communication side of things, we've got the Facebook group, which is a private group, which obviously you can be on. If for any reason any of you are not on these and you've not got access to these, let me know and I'll make sure that you've got the access that you should have. Your email addresses should have been passed on to TTT, so some stuff will come out via email. But I have to say, at the moment, the guys at their sort of head office are not great at emailing. It tends to be mostly through Facebook that the messages come out. There are various WhatsApp groups. Obviously, I've got my own group, but there's a group for just about everything else within TTT. They're not used particularly well at the moment. I think with a lack of racing and such, they've not been used. So if you're not on them, to be honest, you're not missing much. But there's a nutrition one if you're interested in just learning a bit more about that. There's a race information one. There was one that was set up more for long distance, one that was set up more for short distance. I say, but although they were set up and there's probably 50, 60 people in each group, they're not massively utilised at the moment. So it's not urgent that you join them. A lot of the educational side of things that we do is on YouTube. So Total Tri have a YouTube channel. So if you want to just have a mooch on there and see what information's on, there's some videos from the past and quite a lot from the last 12 months. And similarly, I've posted a few of my own videos on YouTube, which I don't really like saying I've got a YouTube channel because it makes me sound like some sort of blogger or something, but I'm not. But yeah, there's some videos there if you want to have a little search and you can have a watch of things in your own time. And then if you're not aware of it, TTT, as a coaching company, can provide one-to-one swim analysis, mostly on site in a pool, but you could do it remotely with some video if you can get it yourselves. We've got bike fitting in Chester. We've got some lab testing in Liverpool, John Moores University. We've got sweat testing now. Danny Webber, the nutritionist, and I are working on a protocol to get some really good sweat test data out there for particularly the guys who are going long distance next year. And then the nutrition side of it, again, if you want more info, Danny Webber is your guy for that. And then finally, I've been advised to get like a business bank account to keep all my money separate from my private stuff. So what I will probably ask you to do over the next month before November's payments is I'll give you a different bank account detail if you wouldn't mind swapping your standing orders over so that I can just keep my income from coaching separate to my other stuff. But it's not, don't worry about it for this payment because it's only a couple of days away. I'll sort it in the middle of next month and then hopefully you can just change it for the month after, for November. Okay. Right, that's the end of everything that I wanted to say. would anybody like to fire away with any questions, any comments? Feel free to chip in. No. So to finish them, I mean, for instance, Dave, we've talked about a run block, haven't we? So we're thinking to move your triathlon on for next year, we're going to go for a run specific sort of block over winter, haven't we?
Yeah, because my run off the bike is shit.
Yeah. And that's what you're still thinking, isn't it? After listening to all that, has that changed anything?
The run on its own, I'm happy with. I'm quite comfortable going out and doing that. And like I said to you the other day, the whole work into things for me, I find easier than going out and just trying to think about it myself. To have that 10 minutes in this, 10 minutes in that, and then 20 minutes at the other works better for me. Yeah. But like I said the other day, what my biggest concern or biggest problem at the minute is getting off that bike and running.
Yeah,
it's getting over that.
Yeah. Interestingly, for a lot of people, you would probably say, well, you're probably over biking. You know, if you can run well, or you're happy with your run in general, but then you're not happy with your run after cycling, for a lot, you would then look at the bike, not look at the run, but look at the bike and say, well, you know, how did you pace it? How much bike training have you done, etc. But I think your biking from your last couple of races is actually almost spot on. And we've said this, haven't we? That I think your biking is round about the right intensity level. So again, what we'll look to do is build up volume of running and build up some of the fast work so that you're getting more elastic recoil off the floor. You know, if you're putting a lot of energy into running, well, when you're fresh and you just go out for a run, you can kind of bluff it for an hour. But if you're then getting back and you're already tired, your muscles are already a bit tired. If we're more economical, if your tendons are working better for you, you're getting some free speed, and that's something that will improve just with more running as well. So I think that's the kind of thing I think we need to be looking into for winter. AD, we need to get your Achilles better, don't we?
Yeah.
Have you got somewhere to go with that? Have you got a point of contact that you can go
and... what do you mean?
To get, you know, like a bit of a diagnosis or somebody to give you some rehab exercises or, you know, that sort of thing. Have a massage.
No, not really. Obviously, I can go to the doctors, but...
That's a bit of a waste of time in most cases, but...
yeah.
You know, have a look at, you know, a recommendation locally for a physio, maybe a private physio or something like that. You know, and in my mind, if I was treating somebody with an Achilles problem, I'd only need to see him about once a month. It's not someone, you know, they shouldn't be conning you to say, oh, you've got to come every week and I'll do this and I'll do that. You just need the right advice. You need the right exercise prescription. You know, a massage around the area can make it feel nicer so you're more relaxed. And then it's just about being very sensible. So, you know, if you do go for any physio, you get some advice and it's somebody saying, oh, we need to use this electrical machine and it's got to be twice a week, etc. You know, take a step back from that because that's not the right way to go with it. And there will be a few people like that out there. Obviously, we can have a chat on a video. I can do a basic level of having a look at it. I'm just, you know, when you take pride in your work and you can't do it properly with a video, I'm a bit anxious to tell people loads and loads when I've not seen it personally. So again, if it ever suits for you to come up and visit, I know it's a bit of a drive for you, but I'll always have a look at it properly if you ever need me to.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Rob, you're still suffering with your calf a bit as well, aren't you? Is that getting better now?
It's slowly getting better. I mean, the plantar fascia issue is much less painful than what it ever has been for the last couple of years. So I think we're making good inroads into that. There's a whole nerve issue that goes from my lower back all the way down my groin into my calf, and just doing some rehabbing with Lorna over there, but I am getting out more and doing some reasonably decent runs. A little bit uncomfortable the next day or two, but it's certainly a step in the right direction.
Yeah, again, and as we've done over the summer, it's just important we keep in touch and make sure that, you know, whatever you're doing doesn't let the pain get out of hand. And I'll let Lorna, you know, sort of lead on what you're doing as far as rehab is concerned. And again, once you've managed to get through your race on Sunday, the rehab has to come first. You know, make sure you get that in, and then other sessions can work around it. Obviously, if you thinking about focus on any of the sports, it's only going to interfere with your run focus. If we end up focusing on swimming or focusing on cycling, then the car-free ab will go quite well with that because they won't upset it very much. If you decide that you'd like to focus on the running, then we're going to have to be very, very cautious. I think that's the only thing.
Yeah. No
yeah. And obviously, we said about focusing. If you're, for people who are newer to triathlon, or they feel that they're, equally good or equally crap across the board, we can still keep you training as triathletes. There's no harm in working all three sports. We always tend to have a bit of a bike focus because it's it's 50% of the whole time that you're out on the course, and it's the one where you can save and lose a lot of time. So, we can equally just keep carrying on with a multi-sport focus, and we'll progress it as we would, just in a general sort of plan. Stephen, Kush, anything else you want to add? Or are you happy with that, guys?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah, all good.
Are you still marathon man? Is that what we're going for now? Oh, you went then. Did you reply then?
What was that? Sorry, I never heard that.
No, I was talking to Kush. Are we still going for the marathon plan now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I just need to get an idea of when that is and plan out the winter time so that we can progress with the long running and stuff and build you into that. And then we'll try and fit in some cycling, some swimming around it and keep them going, so we don't lose so much. Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? No. Okay. So I'll be in touch in the next week or so. I'll try and get round to having a chat on the phone with each of you. Feel free to phone me if there's a time that suits you better. By all means, just give me a call, and we'll just firm up what I've discussed tonight. And if you have no real ideas, I'm quite happy to lead you along the winter path. But again, feel free to have some control over your winter. It's at the end of the day, you guys are paying, and it's what you want out of the sport at the end of the day. So let's hopefully make it happen over winter. So keep in touch, keep commenting on your sessions, keep doing the sessions as best you can. And again, let me know if you do want a bit of a break of some sort, what does that break mean to you? And then we can make sure that you get that mental refreshment and start again. Okay, guys, I'll catch you in the week, but thanks for calling in. See you later.
Cheers, Phil.
Cheers, Phil.
Cheers, Phil. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much.